I'm Kathleen Warshawsky, and you are at SBB University Caregiving Resources. Today, we're going to be talking about engaging an aging relative with dementia. We'll go over some top dementia-friendly virtual strategies and tools for professionals to use when consulting with families. The sponsors of today's event are Arbor Hills Memory Care Community and Koelsch Communities. Stacy, would you like to say a few words to everyone?
Thank you, Kathleen. Hello, everyone. We hope everybody is enjoying the beautiful weather here in Texas. At Arbor Hills, we do have a few events coming up. One in the early beginning of November, we're going to do a virtual scavenger hunt. Look out for a flyer on that. We really hope that you guys can join us. And also we'll be hosting a turkey and pie giveaway the week of Thanksgiving, and we'll be sending out invitations on that. And every first Monday of every month, so every month, first Monday, stop by between 8:30 and 10 a.m. at Arbor Hills to get your free donuts and drop off your business cards. We'd love to see you out. Thank you, Kathleen and Benjamin.
Thank you, Stacy. I'd also like to thank Seniors Blue Book for bringing today's program to us. To receive your educational contact hours today, you must have registered via Zoom. You must attend the entire webinar presentation, and you must complete the evaluation tool within 24 hours of the event completion. So by the end of the day tomorrow, please. You will be awarded 1.1 contact hour, and your certificates will be sent via email, and you should receive them by the end of the week, next Friday. So just before Halloween there. Disclosures, there's no conflicts of interest to report today. There's no commercial support for today's activity, and the event sponsors did not influence any content that our speaker will be sharing. And now I'd like to introduce to you our speaker. Mr. Benjamin Surmi is a social gerontologist, and he is the Director of People and Culture for Koelsch Communities. Welcome, Benjamin.
Thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it. So today's topic is virtual, right? How do we engage someone when we're at home with them? They have dementia, we're not going anywhere, we're socially isolated, right? And we're trying to figure out, what am I going to do with dad? What am I going to do with mom? Now, we're all professionals on this call, so we're not necessarily the family member trying to make these decisions. So the way I'm talking about this today is more tools in the toolbox for you as you're consulting with families. And let's say you're a home care provider and you are talking with families, and they're telling you what's going on, right? And you want to help them. How do we have a more engaging experience at home, right? What does that look like? So think about everything I'm going to talk about to you about today as tools in your toolbox. Please pardon me, background noise today. Tools in your toolbox for when you're consulting with families, and their problem, their pain point is, I need something to do with dad. I don't know what to do with my mother with dementia. We've been at home for 7 months now, and we're not going places. We're scared that we could get her sick. We really can't do much, and it's just getting unbearable at home, right? That's really what we're talking about today, is how to think about things we can do at home or wherever they happen to be living. What are things we can be doing that will help them be more engaged? Now, I'm going to be looking at virtual, and that's what the title of this talk is. But I want to start actually with the physical world, because I think we forget about how much is available to us in everyday life. And in some ways, making sure that we're using everyday life tools first is more important than embracing virtual. So I didn't want to trick you, but it's not necessarily sexy to talk about chores at home. So we are going to talk about the virtual stuff, but I want to start by making sure we're all remembering how powerful the everyday stuff is for people living with dementia. All right. So that's what I'm going to talk about first. And then we're going to look at the top 10 tools for engaging someone with virtual tools, for virtual online resources, right? Simple things. My name is Benjamin, as Kathleen said. I'm a social gerontologist and love this particular work. I think my passion is, how do we help elders live life fully, right? Not just how do we help take care of them? How do we help them walk well? How do we help them, do all those things, but how do we really help them live well and live with purpose? This presentation was co-created by Lisa Klitsch, who is has a master's of arts in art therapy and psychology and a master's of special education. She's an amazing person to work with. I really appreciate Lisa and her work with me. So what we're going to look at first in this first section on everyday life and how do we make everyday life more engaging for someone with dementia is, why are those everyday tasks important? What abilities are we adapting for? How can we adapt yard work, and how can we adapt household work? All right. Again, you may not think this is super interesting, but it's actually really important. And a lot of families and a lot of communities that take care of people with dementia do not do these at all. And yet they are some of the most important things you can do with someone with dementia. So why are everyday tasks important? Well, let me say it this way. Number one, most of us, our whole life is not been about entertainment. It's not been about just going places. It's not just been about having friends, right? We got up, we made our bed, we washed the dishes, we made our lunch, we went to work, we worked hard all day, we came home, we gardened, we swept off the porch, we sprayed off the driveway, we did some painting, we did some hobbies, right? We did a lot of different things in the day, and maybe we had an hour of television, maybe we had coffee with a friend, but a lot of the day was spent doing things that made a difference in the world. And even when we dreamed of the day we could retire, right? We found that really what mattered to us was having a purposeful life, right? Really doing things that helped other people, made our world a better place, made the place I live more beautiful. And so everyday tasks are like an integral part of how we human beings feel like we have some worth, we have some value. When we spend 2 weeks on a cruise, we might enjoy it, but by the time we're at 4 weeks on that cruise, we're starting to feel a little bit like a loafer, right? Like someone who's a glutton and just hanging out and not really doing much with our life, right? And so cruises are great, but we wouldn't do them for 2 or 3 or 4 months because we would start to feel pretty not so great. So everyday tasks are important for our health, our well-being, and just feeling like we have purpose in the world. Now, what abilities are we adapting for? Well, we're adapting for blindness. We need to adapt for it's hard to see. Peripheral vision is not where it used to be. We may have problems hearing. We may not be able to bend down. We may not be able to pick things up. We may have trouble in our movements or how we walk, right? We may have trouble remembering things and following complex tasks, right? So all those kinds of abilities that are changing when someone has dementia and they're aging at the same time, all those are abilities that make everyday tasks a lot harder to do. That's why families often don't employ them in their toolbox, right? It's easier to sit dad down in front of the television. It's easier to say, Dad, why don't you read this book? Dad, why don't we play this game? Than it is to say, well, how can I help Dad rake the leaves, right? That can be a lot harder to do. So let's look at yard work first. What are ways we can adapt yard work? So let's do the work on a tabletop. If we're planting seeds or transplanting something, let's do it on a table. Let's not have them do it the way they did in the past and maybe get down on their knees in the garden to do this, but let's put it on the lap. Let's put it on the table. Let's repeat this little task of planting seeds every season, so we have an endless growing season, right? Let's look at things like gardening. How do we deadhead flowers, trim perennials, or harvest the garden? Wear an apron with a pocket or bag for garden waste. So the idea is you look at what can be done and let's find a specific piece of it. Maybe they can't do the whole garden project by themselves, but they can deadhead the flowers. They can do some weeding, right? They may need to sit next to the garden, and maybe it's a raised garden. Maybe it's some pots on a table, right? They're easier to reach. Raking leaves. Well, maybe we can rake onto a tarp while we're sitting down. Maybe I don't need to be standing up and risk falling and all of that. Maybe I can break the task up over several days, right? I'm doing different parts of the yard on different days. I'm maybe only doing 10 minutes at a time, right? Maybe I work with a neighbor, right? Maybe I go into the neighbor's yard and help. And I'm helping someone. And so that's making an even bigger difference than just me doing this myself, for myself. Maybe sweeping is something that the person can still do, right? Lots of places to sweep. Find the right size broom, right height that works for them. Again, they can be seated while they're doing this. Sweeping is an easy activity that even into middle stages of dementia, people are often able to do very well and find it actually a bit calming. Caring for birds is another simple, everyday life kind of chore. Make your own feeder, refill the bird feed regularly, watch the birds, make sure they're doing well, check on them every day, right? Just a great way to engage with nature at home and have a responsibility to care for those animals, even though they're wild animals coming in. Deep clean tools. Deep clean the tools, hand the tools to someone else when they're working, right? Watering, we might do this in a way that is easier, whether it's using a certain type of hose or whether it's using pitchers, using a hose extension, sitting while we're doing it, just putting the hose away. All those things are parts of watering that we can divide up that task to the part that they can do. Sanding. Oh my goodness, this is a really great tool, especially for guys who might be from a generation where they didn't do dishes, where they didn't sweep the floors. Sanding is something that they may feel very comfortable doing. Taking some wood that may or may not be turned into something else and sanding it and sanding it. I mean, you could make coasters, right? Coasters for your drinks and sand them really well and make them super smooth. Now, what about things we can do in the house, right? Household things, not just yard things. Well, emptying a dishwasher, still really common task that people are going to remember for a very long time. Look at the different parts of doing that, right? I can sit by the door, I can stack it on the counter. I don't have to actually put it in the cupboard. I can just get it onto the counter. Someone else can put it into the cupboard. Maybe I can just organize the silverware into the silverware drawer. Maybe I can't even touch the dishwasher, but someone hands me all the silverware and I can do that piece. Right? Maybe I need to create an outline in the silverware drawer so they know exactly what goes where. Maybe I need to label things there. Can I wash and dry dishes still? This is often easy to do if I can be at the right height, whether it's sitting or standing. Maybe there's fragrant bubbles. I can be drying things with a hand towel, even if I cannot wash. I can be wiping down counters. That's a task that we take care of a lot of seniors with dementia where I work. And wiping down surfaces is one of the easiest tasks for our kind of middle late stage residents who are still walking a lot. Putting a cloth in their hand, especially right now, right, where we need surfaces cleaned anyway, putting a cloth in their hand with some sort of non-toxic cleaner that helps make the environment smell better and be cleaner, and just having them wipe down surfaces can be very successful. Organizing the pantry, right? Have them organize things alphabetically or put things by color. And then polishing the silver is something that many people haven't done for a long time, but is very methodical. It's a repetitive motion. You put a little silver polish on that wipe, you give them some old silver, and you have them start polishing. And they can be doing it for hours without needing a lot of help and prompting, and may give them some remembrance, some memories of the past, of their holidays, of their family dinners. Make simple sandwiches, right? It's an easy cooking task, and you can give them specific parts of the task or the whole task one at a time. Sweeping, vacuuming, dusting indoors. Again, this can be very successful, just like sweeping. Sorting and folding laundry. Again, we may not be able to get it out of the dryer. We may not be able to perfectly fold everything, but maybe I can sort it. Maybe I can just sort it by color or sort it by type or sort it by baby versus mother clothes, right? I can do a specific part of this task. What about perusing recipes or the phone book? Find old recipe files, recipe books, photos, talk through them, sort them, plan what we're going to make, talk about the ones that I like and the ones I don't like, right? Again, something that it doesn't take a lot of physical energy, but makes them a part of family life, right? Which is what we really are targeting here is I'm a part of the family life. I'm not just sitting by observing what's going on in my world. What about fashion? Taking rings, taking jewelry, taking earrings, putting them in the right places, sorting them by color, sorting them by type. This could take hours. It could take days to work on this, especially if the necklaces are kind of all wound together. They got to unwind them all. And then shoes, polishing shoes, lacing them up, This is something that can help someone, especially gentlemen who may not want to do a lot of things I just talked about if they're from a certain generation. Polishing shoes is something that they may even take some pride in. Oh yeah, let me show you how I do this, right? They're gonna get into it because that's something that was a matter of pride. Your shoes told you who you were. They told the world who you were. Shoes are important. Cut the coupons from the Sunday paper, discuss the pricing changes, right? Plan a meal together, maybe give them away, maybe cut them, sort them, and then give them away to the YWCA, who's taking care of and supporting women who've been they're out of their house, right? They have nowhere to go and they need some support. The coupons could be very helpful for them. So some key takeaways I would say are just keep in mind that there's so much available in the home setting. And sometimes we get real focused on needing to find the most novel, the most new, the most unique, the most up to date. But really, the most important thing is helping an elder feel like they're a part of their household. And whether that's a house, an apartment, a house, a mobile home, they're living in a memory care community, any way you look at it, the elder needs to feel like they're a part of that community. They have a role, they have a purpose to play, they have something that they need to do every day when they get up. And so the more we can embed that into their life, the better. We may need to adapt these tasks for their ability level, physical and cognitive. And sometimes it just takes some creativity and trying new things and trying things that work for 2 weeks, nothing works. Finally, day 14, something works, right? Don't give up, just keep trying. So my recommendation to professionals is when you're talking with that family member at home and they're struggling and what do I do? Start asking, what are the kind of things he's doing through the day or she's doing through the day? And then start helping them think about all the tasks I just mentioned, right? And which ones let's pick 2 that you're going to try to engage them in this week, right? That's one way to get started with a client. Okay, now I'm going to switch over to a different slideshow here. Now I'm going to focus on our virtual, top tools for the virtual space, right? Things to do when we're at home, we're not doing a whole lot. There's not a whole lot of household stuff to do. Maybe they're just not into it. What are some things we could use some of the virtual resources now available to engage in? And there's really thousands now. And so you're going to say, oh, you missed this, you missed this. Yes, I'm going to miss a lot today. But I want to simplify this because again, when you're talking with families, they're not ready for a list of 100 things. You want to pick 1 or 2 to try this. Right? So that's kind of the focus today. This is often given to family members. And so for you as professionals, think about anytime we give information to a family member, how can we simplify it? How can we make it so it doesn't feel overwhelming? How can we give them a specific concrete step they can take? So we start with number 10, work down to number 1. So first of all, let's engage the senses. Now you might think, well, how do we do that virtually? A good question. Yes, usually virtually, it's just your sight and maybe hearing. Well, still, those are 2 very important senses to engage because the more senses we engage at one time, the better it is for someone living with dementia. Because remember, cognitively and processing words is harder. So they're going to need more sensory input than you and I might need if we're in a lecture and we can follow the lecture just fine. A person with dementia, they're often going to need more senses engaged. So more neurons in the brain are connecting to what's going on. So there's a great document that is going to be linked in this particular presentation that you can access afterwards that shows a lot of apps that are available that are sensory apps, often created for people with autism, but work well for people with dementia. They're apps that if you've got an iPad or an iPhone or an Android, you can put that tablet in front of the elder at the table. They're sitting at the table, right? And you put this thing in front of them, and without having to explain anything, they're going to start touching it and things are going to start changing. Bubbles will start exploding with different colors. There'll be some sort of, let me give you some examples here. Drop a phone, you touch the different drops on the screen and different tones are played, and those tones start repeating themselves every 6 seconds. And so they create kind of their own musical score just by pressing the drops of music. The middle one is a kind of like lights that explode across the screen in different patterns based on how hard you touch, where you touch. This other one is an app that is a fish bowl. And as you're touching it, you hear the water reacting to your touches, and the fish are reacting, and you can be playing with the flowers in the way, right? And so my example here is just that there are now quite a few apps that give a person with dementia the ability to interact with their senses, right? They're playing in the water, so to speak, and they're watching animals react to what they do. That's something that they don't need to know steps, right? Many apps you need to know steps. Follow the bad pattern, follow the games, follow the commands. With this, you're not having to do that. With this, you're just responding to what you see, and you get immediate visual and auditory feedback that tells you what's going on. And so it's kind of addictive, if you will, for that person with dementia to keep engaging, because it's causing them to think of things and experience things, right? Now, another way you can use the virtual resources to develop sensory experiences is to use virtual experiences to get inspiration for and to get ideas for building kits, right? Creating physical, tangible kits using resources from the online world is an excellent way to use virtual resources. So you are looking at 3 boxes that me and a couple friends put together, each different themes, right? We have a culinary theme, a travel theme, and a fashion theme. We printed off pictures off the internet, and we bought things. Either you can buy them online or you can buy them in thrift stores that went along with those themes, right? This is the kind of thing you go on Pinterest and search memory box, reminiscing kit, activity kit with memories, any kind of terms like that. Go on Pinterest and you can find examples to inspire you. And then create a couple boxes based on the person's background, right? If they were a mechanic, they loved working on cars, put together old tools, rags of some grease on them, some old vintage oil cans, right? Some manuals of some old cars, right? Things like that score really well for that person. Someone else who loved the coast and they traveled to the coast every year, you're going to get sand. You're going to have sand and seashells and sand, right? You're going to have flip-flops and suntan lotion and different smells that might remind them of being at the beach. And they're going to feel it. They're going to feel it, take it apart, talk about it. This is great for people who still can't talk, right? They can just touch things, feel things, and it brings back memories, even if they can no longer speak to you. And so I'm a big fan of using the virtual world to give us something physical as well. Now, number 9 is volunteering. Now, there's lots of ways to volunteer without the digital world. I'm going to give you some examples from the digital world on how you can volunteer from home. So, and again, some of these are going to need the loved one to maybe help them kind of get it started and do it. But still, this is what we're talking about. How do we help that loved one help their aging relative that they're living at home with or that they visit every other day? What do I do, right? Well, 7 Cups is a really cool resource where people call into it and get talk therapy, right? It's free if they want to talk to a volunteer. It's $150 a month if they want to talk to licensed therapists, right? Well, what you can do, or what the person with dementia can do, if they're at a probably earlier stages to mild dementia, right, where they can still talk and carry on a conversation, is be a great listener. They can volunteer to listen. People around the world calling and saying, I just need someone to talk to. I just had my car blow out. I just had this happen. I just need someone to talk to. And the person with dementia, imagine how they will feel when they are the one listening. And they're the one, yes, right. Oh boy. So that's one example. Another example is chemo angels, where they're writing cards, letters to people who are going through chemotherapy, and they're sent to people who are going through chemotherapy around the United States. Again, that's something they can do with stickers. They could use pencils. They could dictate what they want to say. Lots of different ways for them to get involved in something like that. Or maybe it's more about science, right? eBird, you get to participate in the world of science by sitting outside in your backyard or at a local park and documenting which birds you found, right? And then their loved one is sitting with them doing that, and they're putting this into the database of, these are the birds we found and here's where we were, right? So it gives them an opportunity to be part of conservation, part of saving our environment and helping animals. Great way to engage. The Granny Cloud. This is another cool deal where kids around the world get partnered up with a virtual grandma. And the grandmother might, or grandpa, might come in once a month by Zoom, right? And get to see what these kids are up to in school, right? It's very simple. They get to see what the kids are up to in school. The kids talk to them, the kids ask them some questions. The grandparent kind of maybe talks a little bit about their life or something, right? It's just a way to get the kids engaged with older people when they may or may not have a lot of older people in their life, and it's done virtually. So my recommendation there is think about how you can use the virtual world or the physical world to volunteer from home, because volunteering is so powerful. An elder who may feel like they have nothing to do and no reason to live now has a purpose, has someone else whose life is changing because they're part of their life in some way. I mean, it is a powerful thing to do. Now, experience the opera, number 8. Okay, what the heck are you talking about? Well, here's the deal. A lot of you may hate opera, especially how long it is and how many words you can't understand, and how dramatic people are, right? A lot of us on this call are probably used to reality shows. That's our speed, right? Opera seems like way over the top. Well, here's the deal. The music and emotion that you see in opera, that is something you don't need language skills to enjoy. A person living with dementia who has lost 60% of their understanding of the words that are coming out of other people's mouths, they don't need to know language to see the emotion in the faces of opera stars. You can tell without knowing Italian or Latin what that person is trying to get across with opera. And so in the UK, some folks, this was covered in The Guardian, some opera stars started a program called 6 Characters in Search of an Opera. And they went to nursing homes all around the London area and found that people who had never, ever participated in opera were deeply moved and engaged with opera. And those who had been were even more so, right? And so stream in opera. Metropolitan Opera is now streaming shows. They're not always free, but they're often low cost, or they may have screenings of previous ones. And if you can't find it at the Metropolitan Opera, you can go to YouTube and find it. I mean, there's lots of places now to find opera online. And oh my gosh, I mean, I'm not a big opera fan, but it is pretty incredible stuff, even over the television, even over a computer or an iPad. And even if the elder only enjoys it for a few minutes or a half an hour, right? That's still, you're connecting at that deep emotional level. Because remember, the hippocampus is more damaged than the amygdala. And the amygdala is where a lot of our emotional processing happens. And so with dementia, the hippocampus, which is remembering our facts and figures and what happened today and what happened tomorrow, that's really getting damaged very quickly for many elders with dementia. But the amygdala, not so much. It's still going to forget things. It's still going to have trouble, but it will participate in the memory making process a lot longer. And so something that's filled with emotion like opera is key. Watch and discuss. All right. You're like, oh yeah, I've got that. Watching television. And that's not exactly what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is this is a program that was developed in New Jersey, and it's very successful. And you can bring it into the home setting or into some sort of memory care setting very easily. Basically, instead of watching a movie, which is very hard for many people with dementia because they're not following what's going on. Like they're forgetting what happened 5 minutes ago, right? Instead of asking them to watch a movie, remember what's going on, follow the line of logic and everything, you're showing 3 to 6 minute clips from famous films that they would have remembered. After each clip, you then discuss it, you talk about it. You remind them what they just saw, and you talk through the song from Oklahoma, the song from Annie. You talk through that moment in the Charlie Chaplin video where he almost died, right? And you either do the same movie, but different clips from that movie and talk through the whole movie together, or you pick 6 or 7 different movies and show 3 to 6 minute clips from each movie and kind of move through a particular genre or just bounce all over the place. So for example, if you were doing this at home, you could watch The Sun Will Come Out Tomorrow by Annie, and then discuss Daddy Warbucks and fighting for hope as kind of themes of your conversation. Then you could watch from Oklahoma, Oh, What a Beautiful Morning. And then you discuss farming and ranching and Curly and how handsome he is. And then you watch The Wizard of Oz, Follow the Yellow Brick Road, and talk about the Wicked Witch of the West and which Wicked Witches of the West did we have in our life, and other characters in that very famous Wizard of Oz, right? And now you've had a successful, engaging conversation. It's not just zoning out in front of a movie, falling asleep, right? It's actually a connection point for that family member with their aging loved one. Number 6, play games. Okay, so of course you could play Jenga, you can play Scrabble, you can play all those things, and that may or may not work out with someone living with dementia. You may play modified card games, things like that. That's great. I keep doing that. But I'm going to talk, since I'm talking about virtual, I'm going to give you some virtual ideas of kind of games you can play. One of the ones I love to play and very successful almost every time I do it, and I've done this dozens and dozens of times, is I will play snippets from different Broadway shows using Spotify or YouTube, right? And at first they're not seeing anything, they're only hearing it. And I'm playing 1 minute snippets from 3 to 4 most famous songs from different Broadway shows. And then we're talking about the storyline as we go, and we're trying to guess which Broadway show it is. Some elders, you may not want to introduce the guessing piece, just kind of talk about the story and then announce what it is, right? Oh, we're talking about West Side Story, and it was created when you were about 20 years old, right? This is very successful because these Broadway shows, almost every person living in America saw, 20 of these greatest Broadway shows, right? And so picking Broadway shows that they likely have heard the music from, many times they will start singing these songs. They heard this so many times in their life. They're going to sing from Sound of Music. They're going to know that Sound of Music song and sing along to it because it was a part of the fabric of kind of American identity, if you will, right? This told people around the world who they were, right? In America and London particularly. So anyway, great game to play. Another game would be playing kind of animal sounds, reading animal trivia online, showing pictures of animals or parts of the animal, and then talking about what animal it could be, and then showing the picture and kind of discussing that animal, right? That's another great thing to do because, again, a lot of times people with dementia, they're still very connected to the world of animals. That's something very meaningful to them. Other ideas, using different sounds of rain, sounds of different cars, theme songs from different old movie shows or jingles from old commercials of Nestle and Jell-O and all the other foods and things that people would have experienced in the 50s, the 40s, the 60s, playing those commercial jingles. Singers playing a bar or two from a Johnny Cash song, a Dolly Parton song, and then trying to think through which singer this might be and talking about their life, thinking about places, the Eiffel Tower, the Mount Rushmore, right? And thinking through, did we visit that? Would you have liked to visit that? And then looking at things, right? Looking at everyday things, but maybe microscopically. You can find, again, all these images online and kind of play this game using your iPad, using your computer screen, and just talk through and kind of have a bit of a guessing game, if you will. That's really more a reminiscing game than anything else. Number 5 is ask beautiful questions. Use virtual resources to give you ideas for beautiful questions to ask. Often we, aging relatives, kind of get in a bit of a funk because they live with the person or they visit them so often. And it's like, what do I ask? I already know their whole life story. What do I ask them right now? Well, go deeper, right? Go deeper into asking those wisdom questions, right? Those questions that get to the heart of who they are as a person. So timeslips.org, they have a great resource called Ask a Beautiful Question. And they have lots of questions on there that you can kind of pull off, and they're designed specifically for people living with dementia, right? That's what they've created this for. These are beautiful questions to get someone to think a little differently with no right or wrong answers. That's important. When you're asking about their life, which is it's great to ask about people's life, but often there's a wrong question. Like, did you live in Hawaii? There is a right or wrong answer there, right? These are questions that have no right or wrong answer, right? What did you endure in your life? What was a hard thing you experienced? And how'd you get through that, right? When do you truly feel at home? How do you make a stranger feel welcome in your city or in your home? How do you do that, right? This is what elders' purpose is to give wisdom to the next generation. This is the purpose of having elders to begin with in society, right? Is for elders to share their wisdom with the next generation so the next generation can learn from them. We need to create opportunities for that, and the virtual world can help us with that. Talk with old friends, number 4. Many of you are probably already doing this or already recommending this. A very, very important thing to do. I had some friends I hadn't seen in years. COVID hit, and then for some reason we thought, we should Skype them. Hadn't Skyped them forever in the non-COVID world, but all of a sudden it's like, we should Skype. They're in Germany. There's no reason for us not to talk, right? Put a list together, friends that you haven't seen for 10 years, and start one a week or something, right? Reach out to a friend that you haven't talked to. Maybe they live in another country, and to have a 10-minute chat, 15-minute chat, right? Doesn't have to be long, but just seeing that person's face again, hearing those stories can make a big difference. Skype is one option among many. You've got Skype, Zoom, FaceTime, WhatsApp. They're all great. A few tips for video chat with someone with dementia. Show pictures with screen share. Right? If you have something like Skype that can flip the screen to share the screen, or if you're using Zoom on a computer, you can share your screen, show pictures from your Facebook feed, show pictures from the internet, show pictures, right? Especially if you're calling the elder or calling a friend, right? You can share pictures back and forth, tell stories, right? Don't just chit chat, but tell stories, right? Think about a specific thing that happened in life and talk about that story, because stories are really what our elders with dementia are connecting with right now. Not just quick statements about facts, right? But really telling stories that might bring back memories for them. Give a tour, right? Take that smartphone, give a tour of the garden, give a tour of the backyard, of the kitchen that was just remodeled, of Whole Foods as you're walking through Whole Foods, whatever the case, give a tour so the elder with dementia is able to participate more fully in life. Ask good questions like we talked about, those wisdom questions. Interview. Maybe you've got the elder on the phone, or you've got the elder and their friend on the phone. I'm going to ask you some questions. We're writing a little family newsletter by email, and I want to write down some notes and then ask about things you may already know about. But because it's a more formal setting where you're interviewing them, they're going to tell you things that you didn't know before. And they're going to tell you in a way you may have not heard it before. Read out loud, have the elder read to you. Many times a person with dementia is not given the opportunity to read, and yet that is an intact skill, often to very late stages of dementia. And so reading can be a very successful experience for them, something very pleasurable. It doesn't require them to remember things and generate content for you. And then pray. Many times a person with dementia has a spiritual background. No one is giving them the opportunity to pray. No one's praying for them. And that was a big part of their life. This can be done in a virtual setting very easily. Number 3, create stories together. So this is a model that many of you may have heard about by now. It's called Time Slips. And I believe Time Slips is offering training in this for free during COVID. So timeslips.org, great thing for family members to take the free short training online, or you to take it. Great opportunity to get some training in how to do this, although you don't really need training. But many people would feel more comfortable training. Basically, what you do is you find a very evocative picture, something that has a ton of emotion in it. You can tell there's story in that picture. You can tell something has happened, maybe out of the ordinary, or maybe very, very ordinary, right? And you ask questions of the people you're with in the room. Maybe it's you, your loved one with dementia, and another friend, right? You hand each person a picture, you print it off the internet, or you show it on the iPod or on the screen, right? iPad or the screen. And you start asking questions like, okay, we're going to create a story about this, and we're going to send it to our family just for fun, right? It's just be a fun thing to do. Look at those 2 dogs. What the heck is happening in that picture? And then they start telling. And then you ask more open-ended questions, right? There's no right or wrong answer, but where should we say they're going? Or where do they come from? Where are their owners? What could their names be? Why is it wearing a bandana? Why is it wearing a bandana? What weather like? What might be in the back trunk? What might be in the car with them? Have they met each other before? All kinds of questions you can ask them, no right or wrong answer. And you're just sort of writing down the things the person with dementia says, as well as anybody else you happen to have in the room. And then you read back all the statements and you try to put it together in a bit of a story, right? Oh, Bertha and Sammy were on their way from the park when all of a sudden they met each other. They fell in love. You have a whole story told, and you title it and you send it to your family, right? Really cool way to get an elder talking, because there's no right or wrong. And there's the visual component. Too often we try to help people living with dementia speak to us, entertain conversation with us, but we're doing it all through their ears. We give them no visual clues. They often need the visual clues in order to really participate in the conversation. They're losing 40 to 60% of everything you're saying. So the visual clues help them participate in conversation. So this is an exceptional way to do that. Timeslips.org, you can download the pictures right there, show them, or you can just get on the internet and look for pictures, right? It doesn't have to be anything official. A lot of people have really taken hold of this, and they're using it in very creative ways. So for instance, they might take the story written by the elder in the picture and give it to an artist. The artist then creates an art piece out of it. Or they give it to a group of kids, and the kids create a skit and video the skit and send it back to the elder so they can see their story lived out in a skit, right? So there's a big movement to take the stories that elders are telling around pictures like this and turn them into plays, turn them into artwork, puppet shows, books, a calendar, whatever, right? Finding a creative way to take the story the elder told and then make it something special. So that's the kind of thing, again, that a family unit could take that story and then say, what can we do with the story that grandma told, and kind of give it back to her in another creative way. So it can involve the grandchildren very easily. Number 2, explore the world. All right. What I mean by that is we now have so many resources at our fingertips to go places we've never gone using the internet, right? And you may be familiar with many of these tools, but virtual tours are one of the kind of new areas of growth, new areas of innovation. And I've looked at a lot of them. One of my favorites, because it works really well, very smooth, is virtual Yosemite tours. And so there's like 21 spots in Yosemite. You can tour from your iPad, you can tour from your computer, and you go to these places. Let's say it's Old Faithful, and you can do a 360 view of what's going on, and you see Old Faithful spraying, right? And you're watching this happen, or it's a still picture, but it's 360, and you hear the sounds of that place. What are people talking about? What's the sound of the water? What's the sound of the birds? And it's so fun because I've never been there, but now I've been immersed in what Yosemite is like. Google Arts and Tour is also an exceptional tool. And I highly recommend you engage in this. If you've got an iPad, you can download the app. If you're on a computer, just go to googleartsandculture.com. And they have curated millions of artifacts from around the world, from hundreds of museums, from the Taj Mahal, from Buckingham Palace. I mean, we're talking most famous places you might want to travel in your life. They now have 360-degree tours, 360-degree pictures of those places, as well as specific pieces of art from those museums. So you're looking at one particular activity in Google Arts and Culture where you can select a time period, a century, and it will show you art, statues, artifacts just from that century. And then you can click on it and go to the museum that holds that art piece, right? And really explore it. You can go to their collections and you can see different museums, and then click on the museum you would like to travel to today and look at different art pieces from the museum, or actually walk through the museum depending on how they gathered those artifacts. You can do these virtual tours from very famous places like the Great Pyramid of Giza. You can walk around the pyramid, learn about it from your computer. And so maybe this person with dementia is stuck at home and they're not traveling, and they may never get to travel outside of the country again. But there's places they've always wanted to go, and now they can go there right from their living room. And it's something that can kind of satisfy that craving for being places and seeing things you've never seen before, because you really get up close to these places. It's not just looking like at a photo album or a big picture book. Like, you're able to move around and explore these places. And then you can explore in virtual reality. So these are kind of often they're videos that are 360 videos. So for instance, the Hamburg Philharmonic, right? It takes you onto the stage of the Philharmonic as they're tuning their instruments or getting ready to play. And you can look around the whole area. Just by moving your cursor, it turns you around and seeing 360 as the video's playing. And it's like a 6-minute video, but it really gives you this experience of what would it be like to be a violinist in the Hamburg Philharmonic? What would it be like to be on stage and look out there and see all those people, right? Another thing you can do is webcams. This particular website has tons of webcams all in one place. And so you can pick which webcam you want to view. And I think one of the benefits of doing something like a webcam, and even if it's not an active activity, let's say it's more passive, you just turn it on to the big screen TV or onto the smart TV or onto your computer, and you just sit it next to the person living with dementia as they're reading or something, is over time, they're going to get to know the puppies there. And they're going to be looking for the black one, right? Where's the black? I haven't seen the black. Where's the little guy? And they're gonna look for that eagle and like, oh, when are the eggs gonna hatch? Oh, the eggs hatched! The eggs hatched, right? All of a sudden, they're part of their life now because this is really happening in real time, and having this kind of playing in the background or near them, the kind of thing that you look at a couple times a day or something, right, can make them feel like they're a part of something bigger than they are, something outside of their home, outside of their mind, outside of their little world. All of a sudden now they're engaging in places around the world where real animals are doing real things. Number one, cue familiar memories. Cue familiar memories. So this is perhaps one of the most important things to do. And a lot of the things we were talked about will do this, but my point here is use resources from online to get them thinking about their life story. So for instance, Nestle has a wonderful packet available online where you can kind of download all kinds of pictures and artifacts from how they advertised throughout the decades. And many elders will have drank their products, eaten their cookies, right? It's been a big part of their life, and they've seen all these things, right? So taking them back to those artifacts in the Nestle archive can be a really wonderful thing to do. Creating a simple slideshow about a theme important to them. They're an architect. They really liked a certain architect's work and followed them. Type in that architect's name, right? Click search. It creates a presentation for you. Maybe they're a dog lover. They love Labradors. Type in Labrador, click search. It will create a slideshow for you, and it will rotate it on its own, or you can click through the slideshow. Maybe they lived in a certain area, a certain city, right? Put in the city's name, click go. Now you've got pictures from that city to flip through together. And have you been here? Have you seen that, right? Google Maps, I think, is wonderful for bringing people back down memory lane. This is my childhood home. Took the address, put it in. I can walk by my childhood home. And you can do this. I did this with my grandfather. I found out about where he lived, different areas, different neighborhoods. We walked through till we saw the homes that he had grown up in or that he had raised his children in. And Google Maps makes this possible. Maybe there's a park that they would walk in their city. Many parks are now available on Google Maps. You can walk through the park, or at least walk by the park. And so being able to take them to that park near that coffee shop, along the beach that they used to walk and stroll with their lover, right? Taking them to those places that they lived, saying, here it is, check it out. I'm showing you where you were. I'm showing you your first job, right? They happen to still be in existence, right? That old coffee shop that you used to work at. Look how it's changed, right? You used to work there. Google Maps is a powerful way to bring people back in time. Also using things like YouTube videos of a specific time period. A lot of times folks don't know these are now available, but there's a lot of videos, and there's a playlist that you'll get after this, where it's taking video from the 1950s and giving you a montage of things that happened in the 1950s, not newsreel, so to speak, but everyday life, right? Maybe it's following the theme of family dinner, and you sit and you watch how the family's making dinner, and the brothers cleaning up, and the sisters helping with the cake, and it's right out of the 1950s. And so that elder who lived through that is getting to reminisce because they're watching this come back right to them. So that, again, there's a lot of amazing resources now on YouTube that kind of take you back in time, not again through newsreel footage, but everyday life footage. Another thing you can do to bring back a lot of memories is music, of course. And of course, you can use Spotify, Pandora. But one of the benefits of using YouTube is that a lot of the old songs are now have the music with the words on the screen. So you type in an old song of the 50s, 60s, or 70s, and maybe type in sing along with it, right? Or lyrics, and you're going to find YouTubes that have the music in the background and then the word on the screen. So you can sing along together about this particular song that they loved. The BBC archives have put together audio footage, video footage, and pictures from different decades. And they are excellent, another excellent resource to kind of find jewels, hidden gems to prompt reminiscing. Because BBC, as you know, has years of history of collecting media examples, right? And so you can find all kinds of examples from the leisure, news, world report, like all the different BBC sections. They've compiled that media into a place where you can search by different categories. Like, I want to see pictures of leisure, right, in the 1950s, or I want to hear some famous people, their speeches, right? Or it's a great way to go back in time and explore real life things in a way that will connect with someone who maybe is having trouble talking through stuff. So those are my top 10. I do want to throw in one more bonus because I forget about this so often. And a doctor of physical therapy called me yesterday. He's like, hey, listen, when you talk, you always forget about fitness. It's like, let me tell you, right now, elders at home, they need fitness more than they need almost anything else because they're losing their ability to walk. They're losing their ability to get up off a chair. They're losing their ability to put their own pants on because of how socially isolated they are and how they're not moving. So if there's anything that someone needs help with right now, it is fitness. And so he actually put together, he has an amazing invention called S3 that helps people continue to walk, continue to move with just 10 minutes of exercise a day. It's really cool. But he created a video called Beat the Virus. And it is like 4 or 5 simple things you can do that will not necessarily help you gain strength, but will help you from losing where you're at. Your functional level where you're at will stop you from losing that during kind of this shutdown time when so many seniors are not doing lots of exercise. And so again, that will be in the links after this event. So you can watch that and give a family member some tips and tools and how to use like the kitchen sink to be able to do some basic activities that will help you not lose your ability to walk or get out of a chair or do basic things that you depend on every day. So my name is Benjamin. Happy to be of service to you. That's my cell phone. That's my email. You're welcome to reach out to me if you want to continue the conversation. And Kathleen is going to post a bit of a blog, if you will, with some links to the things that we talked about. I have a link to almost everything on the list. So you can just click, bam, you've got it, and you're able to explore that particular resource. Kathleen.
Hello, I'm back. Thank you, Benjamin, for that wonderful talk. If anyone has some questions for Benjamin, you can type them in the Q&A or in the chat. I am able to view those from both areas. So please let us know if you have some questions for him. I loved the information that you shared, Benjamin. It was some really great information. So thank you for that.
I'm curious, you see a lot in Texas. I'm near Portland, Oregon today. I'm in Southern California. What are some things you're noticing as you're talking with your clients, you're talking with all kinds of professionals? How are people feeling in the Dallas-Fort Worth area about social isolation and keeping our elders with dementia active?
So I think speaking for the Dallas community, people in Dallas are clearly tired of the social isolation. Everyone here loves to go out. I think for my own family, it's pretty much normal for us to go out probably at least 5 days a week to eat, whether it's lunch or dinner or brunch or something along those lines. And, that's become more difficult. Social groups and gatherings and, even just Halloween. Let's talk about that. I have been asking some people, I don't have young children, but we love to participate in the trick-or-treating process by giving out the candy, etc. And I've been asking people if they are planning to take their children out trick-or-treating this year. And I think in the past, they've been going to a lot of large gatherings like at malls and churches and things like that. And that's not going to be happening this year. And so I think we're going to actually see more things happening in the community, just like we're spending a little bit of time with some of our neighbors, because it's outside activities where we're seeing one couple or two couples instead of, house parties where there might be 5 to 10 couples. So, it's just all very different. And I know that the visitation in the assisted living communities and the memory care communities is still an issue here in Texas. And maybe some of our panelists or some of our attendees can speak to that, because I think that that's forever changing. And I know that there are a few communities that are having creative visitation, like some of them were doing balcony visits where the loved one was on a balcony at the community, and their daughter or son or family member was in the parking lot, and they were, sitting on lawn chairs and visiting that way, or having like musicians come and play in the parking lot, and then everyone going to their windows and listening. And, it's just not enough,
Right.
as you know.
Yeah. I would love to hear from anybody in the chat. Do you have a resource that you have come to depend on, a resource that you have found very helpful that you might be willing to share with everybody here today, something you're recommending to families or that you're using yourself with an aging loved one? While you're typing those in, I will say that I am so impressed with your region. And I get to see cities all across America, very impressed with your dementia-friendly program, in which they have been having Zoom activities for people living with dementia 5 days a week. I've not seen any other city in America with such a robust program where 5 days a week you can do art, you can do music, you can do fitness, you can do any number of things from your home with dementia. It's designed for people with dementia. I think that is one of the most amazing things you have in Dallas-Fort Worth that I have not seen anywhere else. There's things like it, but nothing 5 days a week, so regular, so consistent. That is beautiful.
Awesome, thank you. We do have a few comments from the chat. Casey Ginsburg says, I'm in Michigan and things are very strict with visitation in assisted livings and skilled nursing homes. So I guess in Michigan, they're also seeing the same things. June Stark says, valuable presentations, appreciated the multiple and practical interventions to support the dementia patient. Thank you so much. Rita says, great presentation, very informative. Thank you very much. Daisy also says, thank you to Benjamin and to Kathleen. Maria says, thank you, Benjamin. So we have a lot of comments, but not a lot of questions. Is there any questions for Benjamin? He's got a wealth of knowledge and he sees things all over the country, given his position with Koelsch Communities. So I view him as a very valuable resource.
Well, I'm glad to see you had so many people interested in this particular topic, because it's easy to get focused on a lot of other things right now, but keeping someone engaged and connected is one of the most important things we do. So way to go for everybody who thought this was an important topic to deal with. And I'm assuming each of you are finding your own creative ways to do that at home or in your profession.
Absolutely. Well, I want to make sure everyone knows that the video for today's topic, the handouts, resources, and links that he talked about will all be available for you to share with your families, your friends, family caregivers, your coworkers on the Seniors Blue Book website. You'll need to give me about 3 or 4 days to process everything. Benjamin will be sending everything, all of those links over to me, and then I'll be processing the video and posting that up there as well. The video from last month's program is already up there, and I did include the link to it at the end of your evaluation. So you'll be able to copy and paste that into your browser. If you missed last month's program, or if you just want to watch it again or share it, you'll be able to do so. And thank you so much to Arbor Hills Memory Care Community Koelsch Communities, and Seniors Blue Book for helping us to put on such a great program today.
Thank
Want to
you,
make sure
Kathleen.
that you all know that Seniors Blue Book is available in print and in digital form, so we can send those to you as well. Seniors Blue Book is the only comprehensive caregiving resource in the Dallas area. And we are also the only one that has a discharge planner resource notebook specifically for social workers and case managers. So if that is you, make sure that you send me an email and ask for one of those. And then in addition to that, Seniors Blue Book has national resources. So for those of you who are in Michigan and Nebraska who attended today, you can go online to seniorsbluebook.com and find resources in your area as well as national resources.